Josh Freeman was out of the league. Leader Fan Radio Network.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 7 seconds past 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. Welcome back. Monday edition bumper to bumper program on a calm before the Snownami Monday here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Gargi is the producer of the program. I am the former Ink Stain Wretch newspaper of the Twin Cities, Dan Barreiro. We will be here 6:30, or are we out early?
I believe it's 6:15 tonight.
6:15 tonight for Vikings programming heading into Wolves.
Into Wolves, Dallas. Who's playing nobody.
Are we ever going to beat a team with a winning record? That's all I ask. We have every one of our victories has come against teams with losing records, and every one of our losses, I think, is against a team with a winning record. So sooner or later, hopefully,
you'd like to think
we'll have an opportunity to get that indeed done. But I digress. Lots of Vikings conversation today. The post-mortem is in session. The therapy session is in session, however you want to refer to it. Vikings talking points will be part of the equation today. Monday regulars include Adam Thielen at the bottom of the hour, John Athletic at 4:02, and Ben Lieber at 4:47. Addition to the Monday lineup today is Chris Carter. He's going to join at 5:02 today, scheduled for a 5:02 appearance. Kind of made his presence known and felt via X in the wake of the Vikings' most recent setback and the Josh Freeman-like performance from the young quarterback, JJ.
That's what we have to call
McCarthy,
him now.
The young quarterback.
The young quarterback. CC was at the People's Stadium yesterday.
Oh, he was there for it?
He was there, so he saw it firsthand.
That explains
Sitting next to Josh Duhamel.
Okay, well, yeah.
Being interviewed by Tatum Everett.
Yeah.
It was a big day for CC.
Was he cranky talking about the quarterback during that interview?
The only thing I heard from the interview is he said, I love the Bears. I would not be in the Hall of Fame if not for the Bears. Is what I saw on
That's
Twitter.
a good line. That's
so
not
it's
bad.
pretty good. Yeah. I don't know what he had to say about JJ.
Well, I'm going to have to ask him the obvious question at some point. How long would he last with JJ McCarthy as quarterback?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be fair. I think even Chris would acknowledge he wasn't always the most patient of wide receivers.
Exactly.
When the ball was 40 feet in the air. Are you old enough to remember the Josh Freeman game?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember watching it in Cabo, Mexico.
I remember it like yesterday, and I had Josh Freeman flashbacks. We brought him in. He played one game for the Vikings.
A Monday nighter.
It was a Monday nighter. It was October 22 of 2013. So basically more than 12 years ago, Dateline East Rutherford, New Jersey. And I think he was 20 for 53.
We slung
in the game. We just and we had Adrian Peterson, by the way, and I think he had like 4 carries. If KOC had been the play caller, he probably only had 2, and probably Freeman would have thrown it 65 games instead of the 53 that he did. 20 for 53. He was awful. In my mind's eye, I thought there was one pass that was so high it almost ended up in the first row of the stands in East Rutherford.
Yep.
Because I remember talking about it. It was crazy, and that's what yesterday felt like. I mean, honestly, in terms of wildness and in terms of overthrows, especially, I'm thinking Josh Freeman. I really am. And here's what's crazy. Before you think I'm crazy for using this comparison, Josh Freeman's quarterback ratings that day, old-fashioned quarterback rating, 65.9, QBR rating, 24.2. JJ McCarthy yesterday, old-fashioned quarterback rating, 47.7. And newfangled quarterback rating, 22. So he was...
And that's a fact.
2 points on the new system worse analytically than Freeman, who was absolutely hideous that night. And he's 22.2 points worse than Freeman when it comes to the old-fashioned ratings. Here's the good news, by the way. He is a good... I think it's like... I want to say... in the overall ratings for the season, quarterback ratings, the old-fashioned point system, I think he's like 60 points ahead of Shedeur Sanders.
Our young quarterback is?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the only one he's ahead of is Shedeur, who I think clocked in at a 13 in limited action for the Cleveland Browns yesterday. I'm really glad, I will say, that, yes, you're right, texter guy. Josh Freeman was the guy involved in the notorious phone presser with Rick Spielman whispering the answers in his ear.
He was.
That's it. That's great recall on the part of that individual. I'm glad I spent some time yesterday clarifying one point, because I've hammered endlessly the running issue for me being big. But I did say, in fairness regarding that issue, I still think it's the best way to help a struggling young quarterback, or struggling old quarterback, or a struggling journeyman quarterback, including Josh Freeman. But I also cautioned and said yesterday, if your quarterback, no matter how much you love him in a given game, is as inaccurate as JJ McCarthy has been through much of his short tenure here, it ain't going to matter how many times you run it or how effectively you run it. At some point, the component of more accurate throwing is going to be part of the conversation and needs to be part of the conversation. Trying to make the point that, yeah, I know people think I'm a broken record on the running game. I stand by all of it. But I think we saw even witness yesterday, because I think there was pretty good commitment to the run with a couple of exceptions. The irony is, I actually thought Ben Johnson was channeling too much KOC in a couple of key red zone situations for the Bears that ended up playing into the Vikings' hands. And KOC actually ran a decent amount. But what I think what was underscored again yesterday is, it doesn't matter how many times you run or what else you do. If your quarterback is that inaccurate, you really don't have a chance to win the game. As it turns out, they did, because the Bears are still in some ways, even in first place in the division, the Bears. It's shocking to say that, but it's true. And the accuracy issue in this game might have been the worst that it has been thus far in terms of how far off he was. The lack of touch that he had. The inability to throw, I think what Brady does he call the change of pace, the two ball?
The two ball, yeah.
The inability to throw the two ball. The inability to put a little arc on it, where you're throwing it on a string, which, depending on certainly the pass to Aaron Jones, that made no sense. It was unwatchable at times. And I think what we're learning at this point is that the grand dream, which was, of course, we're going to do both. We're going to usher in the new era with JJ McCarthy, and he's going to play good enough that we're going to be a factor this year. We may not go to a Super Bowl this year, but we're going to be a playoff contender. We're going to do the impossible. We're not going to take what's the term for when you leave high school and you decide to not immediately go to college, you spend a year in Europe or something? What's the term for that?
They call that the gap year.
The gap year.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought we could do it without a gap year. And what we're finding out is we need at least one gap year with JJ McCarthy. So, again, in an odd sort of way, it probably becomes easier to play him.
I think it does.
The worse the record gets, because then there's not as much at stake, and you say, we got to the training. We can't put the training wheels back on him. We have to keep the training wheels off, and we have to suffer through it. And in the end, we may pay for it with a wide receiver who's not been a diva, saying, I don't know how much more of this I can take. He may never say it that way, but his body language may indicate it. There may be even other players who aren't going to proclaim it, but are going to end up being affected by it. It sounds as if I read a couple places that the boos, if you were in the building, were actually a lot more obvious than on the TV broadcast.
Yeah.
And you could hear them on the TV broadcast. Yeah. But I was told, were you there?
No.
A couple people wrote that basically said, out of Chicago, basically said it. I don't know how it sounds on TV, but I think it's actually worse in the building. And it was the key, the seminal moment, the
Jefferson.
It's 2nd and 2.
Oh.
False start. And then it's 3rd and 2.
Yes.
Then it's a false start on Darisaw, 3rd and 7, and then the throw to the right, sidelines to JJ.
Yep.
That was, like I said, that was Josh Freeman. that was a Josh Freeman throw that he didn't even try to go up for because he knew it's not even in the same area code. It was, how high up do you think that throw was over his head? 20 feet? 30 feet?
Really
50
high.
feet?
I'd love to see a sports science breakdown of it.
Yeah.
But that was, and you'll hear that in one of the talking points brought to you by Federated Insurance. You will hear that play, and you will hear the crowd. And yes, it'll be picked up. The seminal moment. That was where you'll even hear it from the announcers on the Vikings entertainment/audio network. That, what are we doing here? And that was early third quarter.
I understand it's a tough day. It's a tough period for the McBobos. But if your best comeback is both quarterbacks were 16 of 32, I can't help you. I can't, because I'm certainly not here to applaud the performance of Caleb Williams. Is he the Bears starter?
He is.
He wasn't brilliant at all. Did you hear what his head coach said?
Mm-mm.
You want to talk about a different approach? Now, again, he played all last year, too. This is his first year. Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams. We're going to get to it later. It's fascinating contrast in coaching styles because the Bears won the game. Their guy actually did make a couple of plays, enough because under pressure to scramble out of trouble, even though he was not great. And you'd have thought he'd have lost the game. It was interesting. It's a different style. Our guy goes one way. And when we come back, that's the other thing we have to talk about. We've reached a point that KOC needs an intervention, not on running the ball, because maybe he mastered that yesterday. He even acknowledged it. But on whether he's doing his quarterback any favors with some of the things he continues to discuss in explaining his quarterback struggles. They may all be true, but I'm not sure he should be saying them out loud. We'll get to that when we come back, and we will prepare for some Vikings talking points and a great guest lineup the rest of the way. Don't go.
Did you see the game?
We're back. We'll get to a lot of the text a little bit later. Kind of a guest-intensive program today. We got a lot of good Vikings talking points as well. I don't know. I mean, the relationship between the Jackals and KOC is not at its high point right now anyway. There's a lot of tension in the room. But I honestly believe, and this sounds kind of hypocritical because I'm the guy who always wants people to talk and not shut up, right? And give us, give folks stuff to bounce off of, whether it's coaches or players. But if the best you can come up with to explain the struggles of JJ to this point is feet and eyes. The thing that we saw throughout the week on the practice field, making it about that. When he has great posture at the top of drops, he throws the ball really well. It all feeds into the stuff a few weeks ago about the base, and I honestly think, I know he's well-intentioned, trying to protect his QB, but I think comments like that, talking about stuff so elementary, all that results is, I think, alarm bells go off in people's heads, and they go, well, how long has he played quarterback? I get it. He hasn't played at this level very much, but you're acting like he just started playing the position about, 2.5 years ago. What are we doing? Eyes and feet? Posture. I mean, the whole thing. I honestly believe he'd be better off making something else up that's more sophisticated or not answer the question the same way, because it really does come off that. Here's how I conclude when I hear it. He shouldn't be playing yet. Not that he shouldn't be the guy eventually or have a chance to be the guy. Not that he's not going to end up being a really good quarterback. But he might be one of those guys who needs 2 years sitting where he's involved in a lot more practices as well. So he's healthy enough to be involved in practices, get extra work or whatever. When you start talking about we got to repeat this stuff over and over again, things like that, like you said, posture, base, eyes and feet, the throw that got me, he threw 2 picks, right?
Yeah.
There should have been a third one. I actually think the end zone pick was a hell of a defensive play. It's still a mistake because you already have 3 points and you lose 3 points, right, which, by the way, ended up being pretty important.
Could have been thrown a little further.
Could have been thrown a little further, but it was a really good defensive play. And the first one was worse. The third one, as somebody wrote this, the Bears were so eager to get another interception that 2 of them collided going for the ball. They're so dizzy for possessed. Another pick. I want this one. And on that play, if you watch him, he kind of has to move up a little in the pocket. He doesn't have a lot of room, and he decides, here's what I'll do. I'll high point the ball. I'm going to go way up above. So he kind of almost like throws it as a pop-up, and his elbow ends up against one of his linemen.
Yeah, he got hit.
It was terrible. There was nothing about that made any sense whatsoever. And so, again, I don't know what the right answer is publicly because it's not easy right now. And this isn't the end. But in all seriousness, I just think when you get into some of the fundamental stuff that we should probably compile them. All the
we've made a list, kind of. We keep saying it. Yeah, posture was the one yesterday.
Feet and eyes, and then a great posture at the top. Yeah, top. He's like, does somebody need to? Maybe is it legal? I know you can't speak in his ear, but maybe you can have somebody in the sidelines with a bullhorn. Who's our quarterback's coach?
Josh McCown.
Maybe McCown just has a bullhorn throughout as he starts his drop. Feet and eyes, JJ, just to convince him or remind him. It's bizarre to me. It's. What did he tell us, the head coach? Often, it's more likely that organizations fail young quarterbacks than young quarterbacks fail organizations. Well, I think I'm starting to get a feel that we are failing him in force feeding him into the lineup at a time where right now he just does not look like he's ready to do it.
And this is the problem with trying to put a young quarterback on a contending team.
Exactly.
That's the biggest lesson.
There's no question.
You just think about all the guys that have been reclamation projects, not like the all-timers that everybody wants to bring up, the Josh Allens and the Peyton Mannings and the people, the struggling in the first year cliche, but like Daniel Jones is a name, Sam Darnold is a name, guys that we've had. They got to play and make a ton of mistakes in irrelevant football games. Exactly. And that's the biggest problem with JJ right now.
The Patriots guy a year ago. Did you mention him? Drake May.
I did not. Yeah. Drake May is another great example. Yeah. You get to just completely fail and screw up and worry about your feet and eyes and your posture and your base, balance, ball, and Brosmer. And no one's really worse for the wear because there's no expectations. And that's the problem here is there were big expectations. They didn't shy away from those expectations. They didn't act like they didn't have those expectations with who they signed. And that's the problem. And I said it 2 weeks ago when he was talking about, or 3 weeks ago when he was talking about his practices when he came back. And it was good to get on the grass and all these things and fundamentals, base, balance, body. It's like Diane Keaton said it. I can't act and direct. Like your mind is, you can't be thinking about all that stuff when you're an NFL quarterback. I was thinking yesterday.
No, you can be, but then you should be on the sidelines practicing. You're not ready to actually win a game.
When you're a player trying to win a game, you can't be thinking about all those things. It has to be second nature. What I started thinking about, and I know we have to break for Thielen here. Gessling did the big takeout on quarterback training and IMG Academy and the millions of dollars that kids pay to become quarterbacks. They don't work on that stuff there. Like these quarterbacks have never been better trained, right? It'd be an interesting thing for Salisbury. They've never been more trained, more practiced, more from the time they were fetuses.
No, what I will grant though is those in that training. None of that prepares you for the speed of the National Football League.
That's true.
I get that.
That's true.
But a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here, again, doesn't eliminate him from being a really good prospect, but makes him still sound like nothing but a prospect.
Right.
Who really doesn't. If you got to keep pounding away on these basics over and over, you just say, well, then man, you're doing this then at the expense of the rest of the team. That's a lot of professionals. And I know a few people dropped passes.
They did.
And that wasn't helpful.
No.
But I don't think that was the story of the game. If I'm being honest about it, I just don't. I don't even think it's close. All right, let's stay on schedule. Adam Thielen, speaking of receivers, he is scheduled next. Chris Carter, a former Vikings receiver, is scheduled at 5. Before that, we'll have Ben Lieber and Johnny Athletic as well. Stay tuned. At 5 o'clock, we'll have an all-time great Minnesota Vikings receiver, former receiver, Chris Carter on the program. Right now, we have an all-time great Minnesota Vikings receiver who's still with the team, Adam Thielen, kind enough to join us as well. I don't even know where to begin. You know how this works. I mean, this town lives and dies with games played by the Vikings more than any other team in this town. It's on a plane. You've been around it long enough to know that it's on a plane all of its own. So the frustration is palpable. I don't know if you hear boos, if you heard them or were aware of them. There were certainly some yesterday frustrated with the struggling nature of the passing game. So to the average rube out there who's concerned that this season is kind of getting away from their favorite team, what's your message?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, those same frustrations, we're right there with you, right? Like we put a lot of work and dedication and we've talked about on the show plenty of times, right? Like all the workouts and sacrifices and all the OTAs and training camp practices that are not the most fun, right? Like you're not playing a game every week at that time. You do that all to have success during the season. When you're not having that success, it's extremely frustrating, and we understand the frustrations, right? We're right there with that fan base. Obviously, I grew up a fan, so I'm even got a little extra, extra just motivation to have success in this uniform. But yeah, so we hear you. But at the end of the day, for us, it's a week-to-week league. You got to show up and you got to find a way to get better as quickly as possible. To give yourself an opportunity to win the game next week. And momentum, as we've talked about before, is huge, right? We're kind of momentum's against us right now. We've had a couple of rough weeks that haven't gone our way, and we got to find a way to shift that momentum and start kind of bringing that momentum back on our side like it was after Detroit, and find a way to rattle a bunch off. But it starts with Wednesday's preparation, and then obviously the game Sunday.
There's obviously extra cruelty to you get the go-ahead touchdown, and then they get the long kickoff return, and it has to feel, I know teams are, trained to never celebrate too soon, but to lose that way when you thought probably on a day where, you didn't play as a team all that great through much of it, certainly offensively, there was still the hope to steal it. Is it even tougher to swallow when it's a game that ends the way this one did?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's in this league, those wins mean so much, right? One win at that point in the season can just give you just so much more opportunity towards the end of the year. So yeah, when it slips out of your hand, when it's right there, when we fought back and like you said, we didn't play great the whole game and come back and take the lead with 50 seconds left. Yeah, it's definitely tough. And I think that's where we all go look at that tape and we say, man, like we can't wait until the last drive to go have success and go put ourselves in a good position. Like there's no reason why we can't do that same thing we did in that drive. Right. Converting third downs, fourth downs, and sustaining drives, making great throws and rhythm and timing and guys getting open against the same coverage we were facing the entire day. So it's that little glimpse of like, man, it's not like we can't do it and we're like trying to find a way to like make it happen. It's like, no, it's happened. It's happened in the Detroit game where we played complementary football and did it in all three phases and won a big game on the road. Like those things are there. And I think that's what makes it most frustrating is why are those things not happening consistently? And I think we all individually feel that like, we all come out of those games and we all can't sleep at night. We come in on Monday morning, we all talk about, man, couldn't sleep last night. I was thinking about this play. I was thinking about that play. Like, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that better. We all, it's not easy for us as players, and it is what helps you become successable in this league. But you got to find a way to change that quickly and find that momentum.
Well, people will look back on the last scoring drive where things went so well and JJ looked more settled and say, well, wait a minute, why can't we run hurry up all the time? Maybe in those situations the game is simplified. Maybe he doesn't have as many things to call, or there aren't as many choices, or it becomes a little easier for him to succeed. Coaches are asked that all the time about, well, just keep going, hurry up, do that the whole game. I assume you tell us it's not quite that simple, but is there something to be gained from that? I mean, is there something about that situation that can be capitalized on, whether it is simplifying or changing whatever reads, decisions that JJ has to make at the line of scrimmage, or does that have nothing to do with it? He just made more accurate throws.
I think there's two sides of it, right? I think there's truth in everything, right? I think there is truth to say, there was in all aspects. I think things were just clicking a little faster. There was less thinking. There was a little bit of pace in and out of the huddle. Obviously not even getting in a huddle. So there was a little just bit of pace to the energy. I also believe the other side of it is, but we were also earning first downs, which is kind of where we've struggled.
Yeah, that's true.
Really all year, is just giving us more plays. We got to get those first downs, just to give us an opportunity to get more plays, to allow us to have the opportunity to get explosives. And so I think you always come out of games as an individual, learning something that you could use the next week to get better. And I think as coaches, every week they kind of grab stuff from the game that you do really well and say, okay, we can build off that and we can use that. Especially with a young quarterback, right? They don't know him very well. There hasn't been a ton of games that they've been able to evaluate to say, okay, he's really good at this, or he's really more comfortable doing this. Like we're all kind of learning together what this 2025 Minnesota offense is going to be good at. And I think again we'll definitely take some things, but you also, it doesn't make an excuse for. We also got to execute better when we're not in hurry up. It's not realistic to just go hurry up entire game. That's just not how it works. Well, so I think we'll be able to use some of that to our advantage in the future.
You've obviously been around a long time, and so you've worked with a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of different personalities. Do you have any theories for when the ball's going, 20 yards over JJ's head? Is that a little bit of hyperventilation? Is it, okay, I've just made 3 not so good plays and now I'm trying to be too perfect and I'm still too jacked up? Or what do you think, what's your best, opinion, educated opinion as a guy who's around him and been around a lot of quarterbacks to try to get a better handle on what's happening when the ball's going wild for him?
Well, I think if you look at really any position and you look at when guys are kind of in the flow or not in the flow, I think it all comes down to momentum, right? Like you make a couple of good plays and like all of a sudden, like you can't miss, right? Because you're in this like flow state because you're so much confidence and like you're feeling it, you're seeing it, and things are going well, right? I think when you get in those games, and I kind of talked to a few guys today, it's like sometimes you get in these games and like nothing's going right. Like you maybe miss one here or maybe a guy drops one here and there's you're almost like just trying to claw and dig and try to get out of this hole, and you end up just digging your hole even deeper. I've been there personally where you make a couple bad plays early. You drop ball or you run a bad route and you feel like you're just trying to dig out of this hole and you press a little bit. And you end up, actually hurting yourself because you're trying to do too much, right? I'm not saying that necessarily is the case, but from my personal experience in my own game, that definitely has been the case in the past. So, you just got to find a way to just go back to the simple things. And it's a lot easier said than done, but just kind of go back to, okay, my footwork, my timing, my eyes, what is my read on this play? That's really where I've had experiences, like you just go back to like, hey, like I have a 5-step route here. I got third outside. I gotta line up with my left foot up. I gotta be a +2 split. Like you just go back to those little details, and then you make a play. Boom. Now you make another play. Boom. Now you're kind of back into this rhythm and momentum on your side.
Well, I would assume too, human nature being what it is, that it is, if the quarterback is pressing because he's got some accuracy issues, then I think receivers same way, where, okay, I got to make this catch. We got to get one of those first downs that you were talking about. And it may be more likely that then, you don't hold on to a ball. You had one that I thought ordinarily you get. I didn't think it was the easiest catch, but I thought it was a catch you usually make. I know JJ had one. There were several where I thought there were several drops in addition to accuracy issues. So can one thing actually compound the other, where whether you're a more veteran player or not, that everything seems, almost magnified if an offense is just not going very good?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, where we're at in the season, where we were at in that game, that like there wasn't any room for error, right? You kind of set yourself up for that by the way that you played in a game or the way that the season has gone. You kind of set yourself up for this spot where like there's just minimal room for error. And does that mean that the season's over? Absolutely not. Does that mean the game's over? No. But yeah, your back's up against the wall. There's not, one little minute thing is amplified, and that's not just in a game setting, but also in a season. So yeah, I think that's not always a bad thing, right? That makes you have to prepare a little bit harder, right? Because how every play could matter. Sure. In the grand scheme of things. And that one play might dig you out of that hole as an offense. It might create the kind of spark you need to have that last drive that we had. There was a couple, I think, plays in that drive that you say, man, TJ runs a great choice route, and maybe has 15, 20-yard gain. It's like maybe that play right there just like allowed us to go down and score. And you never know when that play is going to be. So when you know that and your back's against the wall, when you prepare, you're like, maybe a little extra communication on a Wednesday to JJ or him to us as receivers to say, hey, I'm thinking this, against this coverage. And I think it's those things that you don't really think about until your back's up against the wall and can really help propel you to have success the next week and hopefully continuing forward.
To this point, it seems as if McCarthy, JJ's saying all the right things before games and after games. And he did take a lot of accountability for his performance in this last game. But again, as a veteran guy, there's always, I think, got to be the concern, particularly given the focus of the position, of even a confident player getting beaten down a little bit, whether he's even acknowledging it publicly or not, that there's a mental side to this game. Do you worry about that at all with him? Do you sense any of that? And is that something you ever would talk to him about?
I'd even take it further. I think us as athletes, to get to this spot, you're extremely hard on yourself, right? Like without any media or fans and just like you said, the attention on us as players, but more specifically as quarterbacks, we already put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Like I can't sleep last night because I'm thinking about that play you're talking about. Man, like what could have I done to make sure I make that play to help him out? It's that pressure you put on yourself that really ultimately drives you to come back Wednesday and be more prepared and detailed. But I will say about JJ is he's the guy that can handle it, right? That's why they drafted him so high, because of what they saw him in college, to be able to handle adversity, to be able to play in big games, to be able to find a way to be at his best when his best was required. And we see that week in, day out with him is he's got a great mindset. He's got a really unique ability to just kind of flush what's happened, to be able to refocus each week, each play. If he was mentally weak, or if he couldn't handle this game and how scrutinized that position is, if he couldn't handle that, he wouldn't have had that last drive he did in the game. And so those are the things that give you confidence in a guy. And we, like I said, we feel that every single day, just his mentality, his attitude, his effort. He's also a young guy, right? I think he's 22 years old. So that also is to his benefit, because when you're young, you kind of just show up and and you find a way to get better, and you don't really think about the big picture. You just live in the moment, and that's a great trait to have. You
stay in the division. So another division game. Do you like division games? I mean, is there a little bit of extra juice? Obviously, you got a lot on the line. You guys got to start winning some games, no matter who you're playing. But generally speaking, you know this division obviously very well. Is there a little extra juice for that? Do you revel in these games against other teams within the division, especially the Packers and Bears?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, every game is important in this league, but then when you play these division opponents and how much that means for your opportunity to make the playoffs, you know that these games are even bigger than just a normal regular season game. And then when you're playing a division rival, right? Like no one in this state likes the Green Bay Packers, and we feel that as players. Even if you're not from the state of Minnesota, you still feel that from the fans. And you know the sense of urgency that we're at in the season. And yeah, it's exciting to be able to go on the road and play a divisional opponent. It's a really good football team. I think when you play in this league and you know you're playing a good football team, you know you're playing a really good defense, it kind of gives you a little extra motivation to go out there and prepare in a way that is different than any other week, to that you're ready and locked in to give your best effort to show that you are a team that can beat those teams, and excited about that opportunity to go back to work and do that.
Do you have a favorite road ballpark stadium that you love playing in, whether it's the atmosphere or whatever that you think is a cut above the rest of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lambeau is one of those that you just kind of the history, just kind of growing up, and even if you're not from this rivalry, from these states around here, you still know about Lambeau Field, the history and all that's talked about, the frozen tundra. Like, everybody knows about Lambeau Field. I think it's a really special place to play, and never take that opportunity for granted, for sure. There's a couple others. Seattle, I think, is a really cool place to play. Just the atmosphere, the energy of that stadium, kind of that 12th man. It's a really unique place to play in a unique environment. But yeah, I think Green Bay is definitely one of those places that you look forward to playing every year. And this week, pretty cool. My family gets to enjoy it for the first time. My kids have never been there, and they get to come this week. So excited about that for them.
That's outstanding. Well, the word seems to be I think the reputation that Packers fans have when they're hosting Lambeau is slightly more civil than Eagles fans, right? Even though there's great hatred, obviously, between the two fan bases, most people I've talked to, Vikings fans who go, say, yeah, there's some stuff that goes on, but it ain't exactly like you got to worry about maybe a shiv in the ribs like when you go to Eagles games. So that probably is a little comforting too, even if it's enemy territory in Green Bay.
That is, for sure. Yeah, they're a great fan base. Obviously, very passionate and very competitive. My father-in-law is a diehard Packer fan, so I understand a little bit more of what those Packer fans are really like. Watching him watch games on Sundays every once in a while, and but yeah, no, they're a great fan base. Obviously, Midwest people for the most part. They're really considerate fan bases, and I think they really enjoy kind of showing off their stadium and their atmosphere, and welcoming the away fans. But it is fun to be able to quiet them down a little bit when things are going well and you're able to have success at that place that not a lot of teams have. So it's a great challenge.
Thanks, Adam. Good luck against the Packers. We'll talk next week. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks. Good talking to you.
Adam Thielen, Vikings wide receiver, very clearly disappointed with the result again yesterday, as the Vikings fall now a couple games under the 500 mark. Johnny Athletic's going to join at the top of the hour. Chris Carter, speaking of Vikings receivers, is scheduled for 5:02 today. We'll have Nacho, shortened version of Nacho, probably about 4:45, 4:47 or so. We got a lot of Vikings talking points that we'll include into the mix as well. The Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line, you'll not be surprised to learn, is hot today at 64686. It tends to work that way, more so after losses than after victories, because everybody has the answer. I will say, I got to get your reaction to this. Texter guy, this is from Al in Plymouth. See what he believes that Thielen has boxed us up unwittingly.
Okay, I'm listening.
Damn, Thielen just nailed it. Listen to him speak about fundamentals. And that's what Thielen was talking about in terms of receiver. The little things you have to do, that you do have to, even if you're
the technique.
A magnificent professional with a great career at wide receiver, you still have to pay attention to technique. So maybe we're boxed. I don't know. I would say the frequency with which we've had to listen to that sort of word salad is not helpful, especially I think when it's coupled with, well, he's the toughest guy in the world, and he's a great leader, and as I said, that all may end up being true, but you got to have more on the plate. You got to have more on the resume before you anoint yourself 9 or you go down several of those roads. I would say. I will add quickly. By the way, do we have? I forgot my talking points list. Do we have a talking point on the kickoff return that ultimately turned the game? Did you do kind of that was the yin and the yang one,
yes,
correct?
the ecstasy and the agony.
The ecstasy and the agony. How long is it?
2:24.
All right, well then maybe we'll hold on to it.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is you can put me firmly in the category of a snarky one who does not believe the Vikings screwed up not kicking the ball deep. I had no problem with the decision. It was a very good kickoff. It was to the far side, in the corner, to the 1 or 2 yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And given the circumstances, it's easy to say now, well, if they're going to get a 65-yard return, whatever it was, just kick in the end zone. But obviously, we don't know that's what's going to happen. And I would say, again, if the Bears needed a touchdown, I might accept that premise. The fact is they needed a field goal to win, not just to tie the game, to win the game.
Right.
I don't put them at the 35. So 10 out of 10 times, I do exactly what the Vikings did. Now, obviously, it's got to be, defended better.
Handled
That's
better.
the problem.
Yeah.
But I was not in the group that said we screwed up, kick the ball deep, play defense, because your defense had played better. It looked like the Bears were reeling a little bit. Looked like Caleb was frustrated a little bit. But I would still, 10 out of 10 times, I'm kicking the ball in that situation.
I liked what KOC said, I think today, that our kickoff coverage unit has been very good.
Yes.
They've been very good.
It has been.
And honestly, they deserved an opportunity to go make that play. And he said they're always young guys. A couple of young guys got out of their lanes a little bit, got over their skis, probably wanted to blow somebody up at the 15, right? And have US Bank Stadium go crazy. And that's what allowed him to just sneak out the right side and basically take it 65 yards. So that one didn't bother me either because, like you said, it's 50 seconds, which is an eternity.
3 timeouts.
And we have another talking point by Federated talking about Caleb Williams. You haven't gotten him on the ground. You got him on the ground once all day. Like, he can eat up 15 yards in 3 seconds, right? If he just drops back and runs.
Correct.
So, and even though their kicker had missed one from, I think, 44, it's really hard to count on that again, that we saw it.
He almost missed it.
It was close. He snuck it in the left upright there.
There was something religious because that ball was heading left, and it almost felt like a gust of wind pushed it back right. I thought it was going to be no good again.
Or was it the sky cam? Did it hit the sky cam this time?
It got sent
and
back
it went
the right
other
direction.
way. Was there a sky
Maybe
cam
you're
incident?
right.
Halverson's got to check the video.
Get in by much.
I know.
It did not get in by much. And it was like the other one was wide left.
It was.
And it was headed in that direction as well. But all's well that ends poorly. We'll make this a top of the hour break. We'll get Johnny Athletic on the purple. We'll get Johnny Athletic on the Wolves, who are indeed back in action tonight on the Fan, correct?
Against Dallas.
Against the Dallas Mavericks, who've got a new general manager. Well, I don't know if they have an acting one. They got about 7 players, I'm not exaggerating, in street clothes.
Yeah.
Including street clothes himself.
Anthony Davis,
as Charles Barkley has anointed him.
Kyrie's out. Lively's out.
It's
Cooper Flagg's playing, apparently.
Cooper Flagg is playing point guard, or at least they were trying to play him at point guard as well. So we'll get into all of that and who knows what else with our guy Johnny. Chris Carter in about an hour. Stay tuned.